Hello students, welcome back for today's class. Before starting today's class, let us start Brahmanad. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Swastha. So last class we studied about what are different concentration terms, that is normality, molality, mole fraction, percentage, etc. Among them, the molarity, normality generally depends on temperature, percentage also depends on the temperature factor, but they changes with change in temperature, but molality and mole fraction do not change with change in temperature. In this way, these are the better way to express the concentration terms. But generally, the more used concentration terms is molality, that is number of moles per liter. Okay, and also we studied what are solid solutions and what are the factors on which the solubility of a solid depends on the solution, and what are the factors on which the solubility of a gas depends. Solubility of a gas depends, that is the temperature, pressure and the nature of gas and the solvent. Okay, so from this effect of pressure, we know by increasing pressure, the solubility of a gas increases, and this relationship is given by Henry's law, that is P naught Pa equal to Kh into Xa. The vapor pressure of a gas is equal to the mole fraction is proportional. The vapor pressure of a gas is proportional to the mole fraction of the gas in the solution. Okay, the pressure of a gas above the liquid is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the gas in the solution, and Kh is known as your Henry's law constant. And what are different applications of Henry's law is that so carbon dioxide gas is generally dissolved in soft drinks with applications of high pressure. Under high pressure, more amount of carbon dioxide gas is dissolved, and when the lid is opened, generally carbon dioxide gas evolves out from it due to less pressure. So the pressure is releases, pressure decreases, then the solubility decreases, so the carbon dioxide gas evolves. Similarly, the sea divers generally used the mixture of oxygen and helium. Actually, oxygen is more soluble at high pressure. So, when the sea dive, oxygen gas is more soluble at high pressure. To decrease the solubility of oxygen, the sea divers generally used the mixture of oxygen and helium, where helium is less soluble at high pressure. Similarly, in our biological system, in our lungs, generally the concentration of oxygen is more. So in this way, in lungs, more oxygen combines with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin, and this oxyhemoglobin, when transferred to different parts of the tissue, at different tissues, the concentration of oxygen is less, and at that time oxyhemoglobin releases this oxygen. Similarly, in high altitudes, the people who are living there generally they suffer from breathing problem. Why? Because their pressure is less, and due to less pressure, less amount of oxygen dissolved in their blood and as well as in their tissues. Okay, so in this way, the mountaineers generally carry oxygen cylinders with them. So these are some applications of Henry. So next come to another term of this chapter, that is vapor pressure. So what is vapor pressure? So whenever any container contains some liquid or whether liquids is present, there are so many molecules are present in this liquid. Okay, so these liquid molecules, they experience the attractive force on every side. From this side, on every side of this liquid molecule, they get the attractive force of attraction. And these liquid molecules also collide with each other and also with the wall of the container. Okay, so these molecules, they experience a force of attraction, but what molecules are present on the surface? Generally, there is no other molecules, liquid molecules present above this. So in this way, these molecules get less force of attraction, and hence these molecules want to escape out from the surface. So from the liquid surface, what are the molecules present? They want to escape out. In this way, they are converted into vapor phase. In this way, so these liquid molecules from the surface, they get what are the kinetic energy? They get some kinetic energy from the molecules present here, and they escape out from the surface. So this and converted into vapor phase. Convert into vapor form or gaseous form. Okay, so this spontaneous escaping of the liquid molecules from the surface, the spontaneous escaping of liquid molecules from the surface and converting into this vapor form is known as evaporation. That process is known as your evaporation. As in evaporation, some of these molecules get some energy from their surroundings. In this way, a cooling effect arises. So evaporation causes cooling. Evaporation causes cooling. So this is an open vessel. So whenever in surface some water is spread, after some time, so the evaporation process takes place, and in this way, after some time, the floor is also dried. So this process takes place in an open vessel. But when we consider in a closed vessel, when this process is considered in a closed vessel, suppose this is a closed vessel and it contains some liquid and this is closed. Okay, so what happens? Suppose we take any closed vessel, this is a closed vessel, then what are the liquids present? So these liquids are first converted into vapor. What are the liquids present that are converted into the vapor form? So due to spontaneous process, they are converted into the vapor form. At the same time, when it becomes saturated, after this conversion of this liquid into vapor form, then after some time it starts condensing. So it condenses. So first evaporation process of this vapor takes place, evaporation of this liquid takes place, and after this evaporation, the condensation process takes place. Okay, so evaporation of liquid takes place. So the liquids undergo evaporation of liquid takes place, and after evaporation, condensation of these vapors takes place. Condensation of these vapors takes place, and so first evaporation, then condensation, and again after some time, equilibrium is achieved between this evaporation and condensation process. So the equilibrium is achieved between evaporation and condensation process. So whenever a equilibrium is achieved between evaporation and condensation, there are some vapors of this liquid here and there is a liquid. So when these vapors are in equilibrium with this liquid, at that time when the evaporation of liquid and condensation of vapor takes place, at that time the vapors are in equilibrium with the liquid. And these vapors also collide with the walls of the container. At that time, these vapors experience some pressure. These vapors experience some pressure. As they strike the walls of the container, force per unit area is known as your force. So it is known as your pressure. Force per unit area is known as pressure. So in this way, these molecules collide with the walls of the container and experience some pressure. So the pressure exerted by the vapors of the gas. So the pressure exerted by the vapors of the liquid when it is in equilibrium with the liquid is known as vapor pressure. Okay, now clear? So the pressure exerted by the vapors of liquid when in equilibrium with the liquid is known as vapor pressure. Is known as vapor pressure. Is known as vapor pressure. Okay. So next, what are the factors on which this vapor pressure depends? It is known as your vapor pressure. Next, come to factors affecting vapor pressure. So there are different factors on which vapor pressure depends. So first factor is nature of liquid. Nature of liquid. If there is the intermolecular force of attraction between the liquid is more, then its vapor pressure is less because less number of molecules are converted into gaseous form. Okay. So for example, if we consider ether, acetone and water. Suppose we consider ether, acetone and water. Ether or alcohol or water. Then ether has generally it has less intermolecular force of attraction. Ether has less intermolecular force of attraction than acetone, than water. So more number of molecules are converted into gaseous form in ether than in acetone than in water. In this way, ether has higher vapor pressure. Ether has higher vapor pressure. Okay, so it depends. So intermolecular, in water there is a strong hydrogen bonding between the molecules. In this way, due to the strong intermolecular force of attraction, it has less vapor pressure. And acetone is a polar molecule. So in this way, there is also somehow intermolecular force of attraction, but less than that of water. And in ether, there is very less intermolecular force of attraction. In this way, here the molecules escapes easily and that is converted into vapors easily. So in this way, it has higher vapor pressure than that of acetone, than that of water. If we take ethyl alcohol, it will remain here because it has somehow a small intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay. So any liquid which has a strong intermolecular force of attraction has less vapor pressure, and which has weak intermolecular force of attraction or less intermolecular force of attraction, that has higher vapor pressure. Next, another factor, that is temperature. So with increase in temperature, if we change the temperature, we increase the temperature, then the molecules get more amount of kinetic energy and they will escape to the surrounding more easily, and they will escape to the surrounding more easily. In this, these are converted into gaseous form more easily. So by increasing temperature, the vapor pressure increases. By increasing temperature, the vapor pressure increases. So from nature of liquid which has strong strong intermolecular force of attraction has less vapor pressure, but with increase in temperature the vapor pressure increases. So the relationship between vapor pressure and temperature is given by Clausius-Clapeyron equation, by the equation that is log P2 by P1 equal to del H vaporization by 2.303 R T2 minus T1 by T1 into T2. So the relationship between temperature and pressure is given by log P2 by P1 equal to del H vaporization. So for vaporization this process is always positive, and 2.303 T2 minus T1 by T1 T2, where where P2 is the vapor pressure at temperature T2 and P1 is the vapor pressure at temperature T1, and T2 greater than T1. So this value is positive, the whole total term becomes positive, and log P2 by P1 also becomes positive. In this with increase in temperature, the vapor pressure increases. So some liquids are there, so by increasing temperature the vapor pressure increases and it reaches at atmospheric pressure. So the temperature at which a liquid vapor pressure of a liquid becomes equal to its atmospheric pressure is known as its boiling point. That is known as its boiling point. Okay. So temperature at which vapor pressure of a liquid becomes equal to atmospheric pressure is known as its boiling point. Is known as its boiling point. Is known as its boiling point. Okay, that means if suppose I take any graph like this. This is the higher vapor pressure of ether. This is suppose atmospheric pressure. This is atmospheric pressure, and this is the vapor pressure of ether. This is the vapor pressure of acetone, and this is the vapor pressure of water. In this way, it reaches the atmospheric pressure changing with increase in temperature. Vapor pressure increases. So here temperature, and here we have taken vapor pressure option. So by increasing temperature, the vapor pressure increases. So the vapor pressure increases, it reaches at a temperature, it becomes equal to atmospheric pressure at this temperature. And now this becomes atmospheric pressure here, and this becomes atmospheric pressure here. In this way, if we consider what are the boiling points, then a liquid which has, so this is for, suppose we have taken for ether, acetone and water. So a liquid which has higher vapor pressure has lowest boiling point T1, T2, T3. A liquid which has higher vapor pressure has lower boiling point. Okay, and lower vapor pressure has higher boiling point. So a liquid which has higher vapor pressure has lower boiling point. Lower boiling point. Okay. So this is some idea. Then another thing, this vapor pressure also depends on the addition of some other solutes. It also depends on the solution. Okay, so what type of solute we have added, the vapor pressure depends on that. So the vapor pressure depends on nature, depends on temperature, and another factor, it also depends on what are the type of solute added to it. Now let us consider what is the effect of vapor pressure by the addition of some solute, and that can be known from Raoult's law. So now next comes to Raoult's law. So Raoult's law gives the relationship. So Raoult's law gives the relationship or the idea of vapor pressure of solutions containing some volatile solutes and some non-volatile solutes. That is liquid-liquid solution and solid-liquid solution. But what is the gas-liquid solution? That is given by Henry's law. So first let us discuss the Raoult's law for a solution containing containing volatile solutes, containing volatile solutes, that is liquid solution. Both the solvents and solutes are liquids. So in this way both are converted into gaseous form. So in this way these are called your volatile solutes. So what is this law? So this law states that the vapor pressure of a component in a solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that component at a given temperature. Suppose there are two components A and B. Okay, the vapor pressures are PA and PB. Okay, so first let us consider for A, the vapor pressure of a component is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that component. So PA proportional to XA. Okay, so this is known as your Raoult's law. The vapor pressure of a component is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the component at a given temperature in a solution. Suppose there is no other solute is there, only one type of solvent is there. At that time, what is the value of XA? That XA equal to 1. Okay, so first PA equal to some constant K into XA. What is K? So K is proportionality constant. PA equal to K into XA, where K equal to proportionality constant. Suppose no other solute is added, only one solvent is there. So if there is one solvent is there, only one solvent is there, then what is the value of XA becomes? Now the XA becomes equal to 1. As XA becomes 1, when XA equal to 1, when XA equal to 1, then vapor pressure of what? That is the vapor pressure of pure solvent, and vapor pressure of pure solvent is taken as vapor of the solvent A, and vapor pressure of that solvent or that component A is known as a pure component is known as P naught A. When XA equal to 1, then PA equal to P naught A. That is the pressure of pure component. This is the pressure of vapor pressure of pure component. So substituting these values, this is equation 1, this is equation 2. Substituting these values in this equation, what we get? PA equal to P naught A into PA equal to P naught A into XA. So this is the form of Raoult's law. Actually, this is the form of Raoult's law. Okay, that means the vapor pressure of a component is equal to the product of mole fraction of that component, and the vapor pressure of a pure component. Okay, so the vapor pressure of a solution, vapor pressure of a component in a solution, the vapor pressure of a component in a solution is the product of product of mole fraction of that component and vapor pressure of pure solvent. So pure component and vapor pressure of pure component. So the vapor pressure of a component in a solution is the product of mole fraction of that component in the solution and the vapor pressure of pure component. So this is known as your Rao's law. Suppose there are two components A and B and both are volatiles. This A is also converted in vapor form, B is also converted in vapor form. It has some vapor pressure, it has also some vapor pressure. Suppose we take the mixture of this, then what happens to the vapor pressure? So in this way, so Pa, Pb equal to this much, pure solvent. So in this way, Pa equal to P naught A into Xa and Pb equal to P naught B into Xb. Now total vapor pressure P equal to Pa plus Pb. That is according to Dalton's law, you know. So total vapor pressure. So vapors are present in gaseous form. So the total vapor pressure equal to Pa plus Pb, or that is equal to what is P naught A into Xa plus P naught B into Xb. P naught A into Xa plus P naught B into Xb. And again we know what? Suppose there are two components, Xa and Xb. So Xa plus Xb equal to 1. In this way, Xb equal to 1 minus Xa, or that is equal to P naught A Xa plus P naught B 1 minus Xa. That is equal to P naught A Xa plus P naught B minus P naught B into Xb, or that is equal to P naught A, P naught A Xa equal to P naught B minus P naught B into Xa. So in this way, so Xa taking common, Xa is there, Xa taking common P naught A minus P naught B plus P naught B. So total pressure is equal to Xa into P naught A minus P naught B plus P naught B. If we know the partial pressure of both and mole fraction of one, then we can calculate the total pressure. So this is Rao's law for a solution containing volatile solutes, that is liquid solution. Next come to Rao's law for solutions containing non-volatile solutes. For solutions containing non-volatile solutes. Non-volatile solutes. Suppose some non-volatile solutes are present. So look here. This is a container and it contains some solvents as well as it also contains some solutes. So as it contains some solutes, now in the surface less amount of the solutes, non-volatile solutes, the solutes do not form vapors. The solutes do not form your vapors. Only the liquids that form vapor. Now in the surface area, less amount of liquid molecules are available. In this way, less amount of solutes amount of solvent are converted into gaseous form. Less amount of solvents are converted into gaseous form. Look here, some red color and black color given. Suppose this red color contains some solutes and this black dots that are your solvents. So now less number of solvents are present. Now these are converted into vapor phase. In this way, its vapor pressure decreases. So whenever some non-volatile solute is added to a solvent or a solution is made of non-volatile solute, then its vapor pressure decreases. Because less number of molecules of the solvent are converted into vapor form. So the vapor pressure. So as earlier we have stated, the vapor pressure of a component is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that component at a particular temperature. Suppose we consider a solution, and suppose Ps is the vapor pressure of solvent in the solution, or you can say the vapor pressure of solvent over a solution or simply vapor pressure of solution. We can say this is the vapor pressure of solution. Okay, suppose Ps is the vapor pressure of the solution. Then what is Raoult's law? Earlier stated, the vapor pressure of a component is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that component. Suppose that component is the solvent, only the solvent is here converted into gaseous form. In this, what is the vapor pressure of solution? Means that is only the vapor pressure of the solvent. So in this way, Ps is proportional to Xa, where this Xa is the mole fraction of solvent, or we can say, okay, instead of A, so not for confusing for first one and second one, here I have given X1. P is proportional to X1. Where what is X1? Where X1 mole fraction of X1, that is mole fraction of solvent, and Ps vapor pressure of solvent over solution, or simply the vapor pressure of solution. Okay, that means what is the another form of Raoult's law? Ps equal to some constant P naught into X1. What is P naught? P naught is vapor pressure of pure solvent. Earlier we have also stated the vapor pressure of a component is the product of mole fraction of that component and vapor pressure of the pure component. So P naught equal to vapor pressure of solvent. So P is equal to P naught into X1, or Ps by P. Suppose instead of S, I am writing here instead of subscript, I am writing the superscript. Ps by P naught. So Ps by P naught equal to X1, or 1 minus Ps by P naught equal to 1 minus X1, or P naught minus Ps by P naught equal to X2. What is X2? Suppose two component 1 and 2, then X2 is the mole fraction of solute. X2 is the mole fraction of solute. So this difference P naught minus Ps, this is known as your lowering in vapor pressure. P naught minus Ps is known as your lowering in vapor pressure. That is equal to del P by by P naught equal to X2. And what is X2? What is X2? That is mole fraction of solute. That is mole fraction of solute. So from that, how we can define the Raoult's law? From that, we can define Raoult's law. Okay, one thing, del P by P naught. Del P is known as your del P. This is known as your lowering in vapor pressure. And the ratio del P by P naught is known as relative lowering in vapor pressure. So what is del P? Del P is lowering in vapor pressure, and del P by P naught relative lowering in vapor pressure. Relative lowering in vapor pressure. Okay, so in this way we can define the relative lowering in vapor pressure of a solution is equal to mole fraction of the solute at a given temperature. The relative lowering in vapor pressure is equal to the mole fraction of the solute at a given temperature. The relative lowering in vapor pressure is equal to the mole fraction of the solute at a given temperature. So this is Raoult's law for a solution containing non-volatile solutes. So whenever we add some non-volatile solute to a solvent, or we make a solution of non-volatile solutes, then its vapor pressure decreases. And this decrease in vapor pressure is proportional to the mole fraction of solute. Or, so this is constant, or we can write del P proportional to X2. Del P proportional to X2 or del P by P naught equal to X2. The relative lowering in vapor pressure of a solution is directly proportional to the, is equal to the mole fraction of solute. Now, next come to colligative properties. So, what does mean by colligative properties? Colligative properties. So, the properties of solutions which depends on the number of particles of the solute instead of the nature of solute or nature of solvent, which depends on the properties of particles of the solute, are known as colligative properties. So the properties of solution which depends on the number of particles of solute, number of particles of solute, or you can say number of moles of solute instead of the nature of solute, that are known as colligative properties. And different colligative properties are RLVP, relative lowering in vapor pressure, relative lowering in vapor pressure, elevation in boiling point, elevation in boiling point, depression in freezing point, depression in freezing point, and another osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure. So these are known as your different colligative properties. Let us discuss the colligative properties. There is the lowering in boiling point is a colligative property. Okay. So from Raoult's law, we know del P by P naught equal to H2. What is H2? Mole fraction of solute. Okay, and what is this H2? H2 equal to N2 by N1 plus N2. N1 number of moles of solvent and N2 number of moles of solute. Del P by P naught H2 mole fraction of solute, H2 N2 by N1 plus N2 number of moles of solvent and number of moles of solute. Okay, so substituting these values in this equation, what we get? Del P by P naught equal to N2 by N1 plus N2. Okay, or del P by P naught number of moles, weight of solute by molecular mass of solute, weight of solvent, molecular mass of solvent, weight of solute by molecular mass of solute. Next, for very dilute solution, W2 by M2 can be neglected from the denominator. This can be neglected from the denominator. In this way, we get del P by P naught W2 by M2 divided by W1 by M1, W1 by M1, or del P by P naught W2 by M2 into M1 by W1. Okay, so so in this way, del P W2 M1 P naught by M2 W1. So here del P depends on, this is the molecular mass of del P depends on W2. M1 molecular mass of solvent fixed, P naught vapor pressure of solvent fixed, M2 molecular mass of this is the molecular mass of solute. Okay, and W1 this is the weight of solvent. In this way, del P is directly proportional to W2. So as this is directly proportional to W2, this depends on the weight of solute, that is the number of solute or the moles of solute. Hence, it is a colligative property. So del P is a colligative property. So as del P depends on the weight of solute, there is the number of weight of solute, number of solute or moles of solute. Hence, it is a colligative property. Next, the molecular mass of a solute can be determined using this lowering in vapor pressure. Okay, or M2 equal to W2 M1 P naught by del P into W1. So in this way, we can determine what is the molecular mass of a solute. Using this vapor pressure technique, we can find out what is the molecular mass of a solute. Let us work out one problem, that is an aqueous solution of 2% non-volatile solute exerts a pressure of 1.004 bar at the boiling point of the solvent. What is the molecular mass of the solute? If the solvent is not given, what? Arbitrarily water is taken as your solvent. So as water is taken as the solvent, the boiling point of water is that is 100 degrees Celsius or 373 Kelvin. At that time the pressure is equal to 1 atmosphere, and as this is given in bar, so the pressure at which water boils, that is your pressure of solvent at which the atmospheric pressure, the pressure of solvent, that is equal to 1.013 bar. The pressure of the solvent is 1.013 bar. Okay. So pressure of solvent 1. That is, so if you take atmosphere, 1 atmosphere, what is given? This much. So P naught 1.013 bar, PS 1.004 bar. Then weight of solute W2. What is the weight of solute? Weight of solute 2 gram. 2%, suppose this is equal to 2 gram, and weight of this is solute, and W1. What is the value of W1? Then weight of solvent and the given 2%, that is equal to 98 gram. Okay, and given so in this way you have to find out what is the molecular mass. So molecular mass M2 equal W2 equal to 2 gram, W1 weight of solvent, solute, this is the weight of solute, weight of solvent 90 gram. So you have to find out M2. So M2 equal to W2 into M1 into P0 by del P into W1. So substitute these values. W2 weight of solute 2, M1 that is your molecular mass of water 18, and P0 given 1.013 bar by del P 1.013. 1.013 minus 1.004, that is 0.009. That is equal to 0.009 into W1, weight is 98. So multiply this and by divide this, so you will find the answer 41.3 gram. 41.3 gram. So in this way, molecular mass equal to 41.3 gram mole inverse. 41.3 gram mole inverse. So there are different relations are given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors are there. Among these 6 factors, if any 5 factors are given, then you can find out the another one. Okay.